Hello, this is Jennifer Mancarini, Director of Career Development at Elon University School of Law, and I'm here with Assistant Dean Melissa Duncan, and today we are going to be having a conversation in this webinar about out-of-state job searches. The reason we decided to do this webinar is because as Elon Law has become more of a presence here in the Southeast, we have developed a number of students who've come from out of state and plan to return either to their home state or another state to practice law after they graduate. So this webinar is intended to give you some very specific and concrete tips and steps to take with regard to your out of state job searches. The first thing we'd like to share with you relates to resources that are currently available to anyone who's looking for an out-of-state job. And this could be for an internship, an externship, a residency placement, or a postgraduate job. The first is to use the LinkedIn alumni search feature, which relates to, you can do it for both Elon Law and your undergraduate school. If you have specific questions about how to use the LinkedIn alumni search feature, feel free to drop by during open office hours or schedule an appointment, and Dean Duncan and I would be happy to show you how to use it if you don't know how already. The second is a resource that we participate in, which is available to you in Career Resources on Simplicity, is the Byu Intercollegiate Job Bank. A number of law schools across the country participate in this job bank, and it's searchable by state. So to log in, you will go to your login screen on Simplicity, click on Career Resources Library and Shortcuts, and type BYU into the text box that comes up. The password and the way to get into the site are listed with the resource, so you'll log in and just search by the state where you're interested. Make sure that when you look that the job postings are current. Some law schools don't update theirs every month, so before you start applying to positions that are listed, just double check to make sure that the positions are current. The other option, which is just available for 3Ls, is to seek reciprocal career services at another law school. This is a professional courtesy that law schools offer to one another. We sometimes provide it to 3Ls and graduates from other schools who are looking to move to the Triad area. This is something you would have to request through the Office of Career and Student Development, as we have to make the request on your behalf. But if you know that you're going to be moving to a specific area where there is a law school, we can write to them and request that they give you access to their online job postings. Most of the time, reciprocal career services do not offer things like coaching or resume or cover letter review. It's just access to job postings. But it's another way to kind of see what's happening in the market where you're interested in going, and to make sure that you have access to postings from the city or area in which you're looking to move. Another option to consider is your undergraduate career services office. They can help connect you with alums, your fellow alums from your undergraduate school, who may have also sought law degrees after graduation, and they can point you in the right direction of potential alums to contact to build your network and to find job options. And finally, we recommend that you reach out to the state and local bar association in the area where you're looking to move. If you're still a student, it's a great time to join those state and local bar associations because membership is often free or extremely discounted. And then you have access to their listservs, practice area groups, and job postings in the area where you're looking to move. So we can't recommend that enough. We definitely recommend that you do that before you graduate, because in that time when you've graduated but you haven't yet passed the bar, you aren't welcome to join state and local bar associations quite yet because you're not a licensed attorney or a registered student. So what are the first steps in your out-of-state job search? The first one I would say is definitely to gather as much information as you can about the area where you're looking to go, about the market, and about what's available there. So the first thing you want to do is identify potential contacts. Those resources that we just talked about are a great way to do that. You will then want to conduct informational interviews about practice areas in which you're interested, employers in whom you might want to pursue, with whom you might want to pursue employment. Also to just start building your network and getting connected with attorneys that are there. See if there are any job fairs that are hosted. There are a number of regional job fairs that are conducted every single year across the country. So you want to make sure that you're on top of that so you can go plan to attend if you're able to, if your finances and your time allow. And we also recommend that as you're gathering all this information, you keep a spreadsheet or another kind of document so that you can keep track of when you've reached out to someone, what the response was, when follow-up is indicated, and what the outcome of the information you gathered was. We also recommend that you be as strategic as possible. If you're going to be visiting the area, either it's because it's your home state or area, that you use those visits to create networking opportunities. So maybe there's a networking event that's happening, definitely reach out for informational interviews. And the other is try to volunteer on a pro bono basis with a local practitioner in the practice area or areas in which you might be interested in working. You can do that on your summer break. You can do it on winter holiday break. You can also do it after you take the bar but are waiting for bar results. It's a great way to get connected with the local bar. If you don't have a plan, it's going to be really difficult to stay on top of what you're supposed to be doing with your out-of-state job search. So we recommend that you keep a weekly checklist and that you accomplish all of these things on a weekly basis as you're working on your job search. So we recommend that you try to make one new LinkedIn connection. That could be with a fellow undergraduate alum or Elon Law alum, or anyone else that you find that's in a practice area of interest to you. Start reacting and commenting on posts by your connections in the geographic area of interest. You could also make postings yourself, that there are things like maybe in a hot practice area in the local bar, or anything that's might be developing an interest or expertise in. We recommend that you identify 2 new connections and request informational interviews. Those can be hard to conduct in person if you're not there while you're still in law school. So those are things you could recommend FaceTime or Skype or even over the phone. And review the job postings in the resources that we listed earlier in the webinar, and make sure, this is essential, that you are following up with prior contacts that you've made. It's very difficult to ask someone for help if you don't have an actual relationship with them. So if you meet someone, make sure that you're following up with them, asking them how they're doing, how things are going in their practice. Keep them posted as to how things are going for you. For example, if you pass the bar, and make sure that you're staying in touch with them as you move forward in your job search.
And Ms. McCurney, this is obviously Dean Duncan here with an idea for our students. So I want to suggest that our students consider using an app to help them with keeping track of all this, because most students are very busy, and a lot of times keeping track of this level of information in the midst of all their other coursework can kind of fall by the wayside and become a little disorganized. So I actually have been using an app that has been very helpful, and I can see ways that it would work really well with keeping track of their networking. It's called Notion, and it's free. They have tablet, phone, computer, programs for, so you can access it from all fronts. And so essentially you can kind of keep a spreadsheet within the app, and you could put the name of the person you're trying to stay in touch with, the date of your last contact, and then of course a column for any notes that you might add. So, if you heard back from them and they said, sure, I'd be happy to talk with you, but I'm in a trial right now, you could just summarize that in the notes section. And then you could put a deadline date for your next follow-up. So the app will remind you of the next date that you need to contact them. So students, I don't want you to feel like you have to use Notion specifically. I just use that one, and I feel like it would work well, but I would consider using some sort of app to keep track of this information, because if you just try to go off of your memory as far as when to follow up with which contact, this is going to be the part of your life that is going to fall by the wayside.
That's a great idea, Dee Duncan. Thanks so much for sharing that. Another one that I've recently started using is Google Keep, because it interfaces well with Google Sheets and Google Docs. So for students who are already using a Google platform, that's another option. Both of those are available on your Apple or other device downloads for free. So another topic we want to make sure that you cover before you plan to relocate is to check what the bar exam licensure requirements and bar application deadlines are. Every state has different requirements. They're not all the same as North Carolina. We definitely recommend that you consider scheduling an appointment with someone from the Office of Academic Support to help you identify what you need to do. A lot of students have decided that because North Carolina is becoming a UBE jurisdiction, they might take the bar exam here moving forward. But if you elect to take it in another UBE jurisdiction and then waive into North Carolina, make sure you understand what the waiver requirements are, as well as the timeline that's required to make sure that you will be licensed in North Carolina by the time that you need it. The reason that's so important is we're understanding from the Board of Law Examiners that it's taking 5 to 6 months from the time of an application waiver submission for those people to be licensed. So it's not as easy as just filing an application and getting licensed the very next day. There's quite a significant delay. So that's something to think about when you're thinking about waiver. Another thing to think about is whether or not there are some connections between your area of geographic interest and what we call hot local practice areas. For example, in the DC area, governmental support and lobbying would be something that's extremely hot in that area. In New York, obviously, there are tons of corporate opportunities. So consider those things because that's where the jobs are. It's really important for you to continue progressing toward a goal that you set for yourself. When you write down your goals, it's more likely that they're actually going to take place because you see them, you can follow up on them. And it's one thing to say, I'm going to complete an out-of-state job search, and it's another to actually complete all these steps. We recognize that this can feel very overwhelming, particularly when you're based here in North Carolina as a student, but you're trying to go somewhere else. So remember to take it one step at a time. You can always come back to this webinar and listen to it again and see these resources that are listed. You're more than welcome to consult with us about the best way to build your out-of-state job search and where to start if you're still feeling confused or overwhelmed after you listen to all of this information. But we do recommend that whether you're using a planner, a paper planner, just a piece of paper, a whiteboard in your apartment, an app, whether it's the one of the ones that we recommended, but that you definitely write down your goals and keep track of charting your progress because it will make your search more effective. It can be extremely discouraging when you're looking for a job, whether it's where you live or where you don't, to get no response or to get no responses or to feel like you're kind of banging your head against a wall. That's unfortunately is just part of job searching, but I included this quote because I want to make sure you know that we believe in your ability to persist in your out-of-state job search, and we are here to support you every step of the way. If you have any questions or need help formulating a more specific out-of-state job search, you are always welcome to schedule a career counseling appointment with Dean Duncan or me. We have worked with a lot of students and alums who've successfully located out-of-state jobs, and we are more than happy to meet with you to help you design your career plan as well. Thank you so much for your attention. We look forward to working with you.
Thank you, Ms. Mancarini, for this helpful information, and we look forward to seeing you all during our office hours and drop-in hours.